Exchange, the People's Podcast, as we answer all of your questions. This is very quickly, Scully, becoming my favourite part of the week because we're getting so much feedback.
I thought you were going to say this is very, very quickly becoming, the most popular podcast in the world.
Well, it's getting there. Yeah. It's the People's Podcast, and that's why they're invested in it. And they're sending us lots of messages. You can hit us up on social media, generally anytime during the week, really, but make sure you get them in early by a Tuesday morning to make sure it gets included in the pod. You can send them through on email as well, or if you want to guarantee that your question is going to be asked and answered, Patreon is the way to go about it.
BackChatPodcast.com.au. Click on Patreon and you can sign up as a patron. You get discounts to all of our events, our merch, free things. We give them away, tickets for different events just chucked in there, and you get to get your questions answered, which I'll start here if that's
Fire
okay.
away.
There's quite a few to get through today. Well done, patrons. I love it. No particular order, by the way. Well, actually there is. First in, first served. Neville puts in this question. With player movement on the rise, what are your thoughts on the Chesser situation? Supported through injuries and then leaving. Is there more in this situation, i.e. if Chesser was somewhere else, would strength and conditioning be better, and that's why he wants to leave? Hard to really tell on this one. He is a Victorian, he's someone that has struggled with injury, first-round pick, which I saw some stats on for West Coast on Twitter. I think it's Venables and Brando in the last 10 years, plus Chesser. None have hit.
We were doing that preseason game together, I think, weren't we, when he got injured. Yeah.
Yep, did that ankle. And he was looking good for he did like one or two things and it was like, oh, gee, that looks good. And then did his ankle and then missed it almost the whole year.
Yeah.
I just don't think we've supported him through injury and now he owes us is a thing. Injuries happen in footy. Sometimes they're young players, sometimes old players. It is a part of the game. And a part of being an AFL club is you've got a great rehab specialist. We speak to Steve Gravina, who was one of those guys during my career. I don't for 1 second take any of that on board. That's just what footy is. You can't say, oh, well, we've given you heaps of medical attention and now you have to play for us. I would say it's probably a lot not lifestyle, but wants to go home.
I think West Coast fans should be looking at it a little rosier in that he was able to get back, play a couple of games, show a glimpse of potential, which means his value has actually gone up.
Which is what?
Compared to what 6 weeks ago was.
What do you think's fair?
Early second rounder, maybe.
Early second,
maybe. Yep.
Geez, they'd be happy with that.
It was a first round pick, so they'd be putting some value on him. I think if they could get a second rounder, for sure. I think it's probably within those realms somewhere.
Jason on Patreon says, feels like Geelong are well placed to win the flag. A two-parter coming up. With the teams remaining, who is the biggest chance of knocking them off? And can you recall a longer period of sustained success? They had the finals teams building up to the 07 flag and the 10 prelims in the last 15 years to follow. Also, reading my question last week, difficulty of fixture leading into finals clearly irrelevant. And this was Jason talking about that last week. Oh, I mean, certainly they'd be right up there as the most successful sort of club over the last 20 years.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
15, but yeah, he's right. 07 and 10, like flags and prelims there as well. So I cannot think of any. Like I know Hawthorn was dominant. Back into the 80s and 90s, 80s and 90s.
Yep. And then obviously won 3 in a row at one stage there through that 13, 14, 15 period.
The sustained success, that's the thing. Like Brisbane wins 3 flags, but before that they were shit house.
Yeah.
And then after that they went through a period of, non-compete. So
devil's advocate, should Geelong have won more premierships, given they've been playing in that many prelims over the last little
while? I mean, maybe. But double devil's advocate, you'd rather be there than
around.
Not.
Yeah, I think they have been so good at regenerating without dropping out. They've only missed the finals twice under Chris Scott. The way they've been able to find talent from unique pathways, been able to find players that haven't been rated by other people, come in and fit well into their system and develop them well.
Yep.
Whilst also being able to add in some top-end talent like your Jeremy Camerons and your Patrick Dangerfields and the like, plus a couple of draft picks along the way. I just think the systems that they've got in place there are the envy of the rest of the competition.
I agree. Nigel Lappin's name has been put in massive lights and, spoke to him, it was Sellers' funeral, had a really good chat to him and, This is a great bloke. Lives on Admiral Court, which hopefully he doesn't mind me saying that. That's the same that's the street I grew up in.
Yep.
The host family was across the road, which was like Joel Selwood, Trav Varco, Kane Tenase, Tom Hawkins, like those guys lived there. Brian Cook lived next door to me. And then, I'll put my name in there, but certainly not as good as those guys. So there's a fair few premierships and good players on that street growing up. And he's just a ripper. So well done to him. Aaron on Patreon. Will, are you okay? Question mark.
It is RU OK Day this week, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Aaron says, agree with your recent controversial take. And he says, inverted commas, controversial. I don't think he found that all controversial. All clubs need to stay classy. Question is, would a playing group take any notice of the banter between clubs and social media accounts? Seems risky sometimes with the positioning of some. You'd probably, ones that would jump out with your GWS, or Hawthorn does pretty well, like their stuff. St Kilda's sort of laying into it a bit. I don't know what's changed in the last 5 years. Certainly in my time, it was more conservative, definitely. And I think clubs are getting left behind that are not. You don't have to go down GWS's path. Like they've taken the lead with this. Jacob Gaynor, who runs that, has been an industry leader, I think. But everyone doesn't have to do that. You don't have to be what GWS are, because they're trying to get cut through in a market that they've struggled to get cut through in, I think. So not everyone needs to do that, but there are clubs getting left behind that haven't gone quickly enough to, one, their strategy and structure around what they're doing on socials, what they're presenting, and whether they're copycatting too much. And two, using social media to connect and share with other people doing what they're doing, whether it be other social media accounts, whether it be fan-led things, whether it be things like BackChat. The clubs that don't want to engage with those are getting left behind, because the clubs have big accounts, sure, but the fans are bigger than the clubs. So, there's so many different avenues now than there was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, definitely, especially across socials. So I know this is going away a little bit away from the question. I watch this a lot, obviously. It's a big part of what we do here. And I think the ones that are getting left behind aren't adapting to that quick enough. And the ones that are forging ahead and doing it the best are often groundbreaking, and they're pushing the boundaries a bit, which didn't used to happen. Yeah. Dwayne. Hello, Dwayne. Thanks for contributing, mate. Scully, can you give an insight into the no contact of the footy club with the players in the off-season? When it starts and finishes, can the players contact the club? Can they use club facilities? Do coaches have a no contact period from the club? How do injured players sort out the recovery? If media want to talk to players, do they still need to contact the club? Any insight would be great, as we don't really see a lot of it. It's a good question. This came in while I was still at the club, around contact and no contact with players.
So that was all part of the CBA.
It's driven by the AFLPA and the players, because before it came in, it was getting to the stage where, especially sides that didn't make finals, you'd have like 1 week off, and then there was clubs getting players to be in at the club, and there was no off season. You were in there, especially younger ones. They were doing weight sessions at the club, and you expected to be in there for a swim. And it was a bit of you don't have to, but it was expected. And I reckon West Coast had a year like that. And we just got it wrong. You do need a break mentally and physically. But I think it's probably gone too far the other way now, to be honest. To answer all the questions, no contact with the footy club with the players. Can the players contact the club? Yes. The players can initiate whatever they like. It's on the players. And I think the clubs that do it well would have a playing group that is, going to the club, whether it be medical or physical or skills or whatever it is. I don't know the exacts around, club facilities. Yes, you can use it as you please. Do coaches have a no contact period? Pretty much. But again, like if you're at the club, it's not like you're walking past the coach and being like, can't talk to me. It's more, the demanding of players, like you need to do this and you need to submit, when you've done it and record it and all of that stuff. Now it's more on the players.
Yeah.
And it's why the good clubs, I think, and the senior ones, there's a bit of a gap opening up, because there's more senior-led players, and the ones with senior leadership within their playing group, they know how to do it. Whereas the young ones, they're struggling for guidance. So you really need a footy club and a playing group that want to take ownership of what they're doing, bond together a bit. Like I was involved again. This is 5 years ago, where we would have a big WhatsApp. Say, anyone want to be down at McGillivray Oval at 7 a.m? We're going to do a run, and then we're going to do a skill session. It's not a compulsory thing, but if you're there, it's a lot easier to train with other people than by yourself. By yourself sucks. And usually I would only train by myself if I was overseas. Once you're back here, you're scrambling around to try and get people to train with you. You don't want to do it by yourself.
We've seen players from other clubs train with each other too, haven't we, in recent seasons, during the off-season?
And I don't mind it. It's not something that I would do. My last year, the Geelong boys were over Hawthorn boy, and we just ended up at the Oval at the same time, and we ended up doing a session because we were kind of all there. I wouldn't be reaching out to. I'm still a little bit tribal and old school with that. It's just like I don't want to help them out.
I can only say from a media point of view, it's absolute blanket ban on anything like that. Pretty much from when they finish their last game, they come back for the best and fairest. So a few media commitments around that, but outside of, no, it's completely off. Players can still do stuff if they have prearranged media commitments or if stuff's organised through their management, but certainly not through the clubs. It's just complete leave period.
Perfect. Secondly, from Dwayne, I've also been told that since 1992, only 5 premiership coaches have won a flag as a player and 9 coaches in the last 50 years. Just adding a bit of fuel to the fire, but should Freo be looking for another coach because of this? Since 92, only 5 premiership coaches have won a flag as a player and 9 coaches in the last 50 years. Well, doesn't that mean that...
Have won it as a player, then gone on to win it as a coach.
Yeah, doesn't that mean they've got their right man? Because it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Yeah, I don't know. I've been pretty on the record that I don't think they'll be changing their coach.
No, it shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be.
I reckon it's a pass mark this year. It's not a win, not a loss. It's an even range for Freo. And Jimmy, the last one on Patreon. How hard is it to commentate the AFLW after having a full season trying to be all over the men's teams and the reserves comp? Feel like you guys do a great job when having to cover the W, but would imagine it would be incredibly difficult. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same. It's the same as starting the men's comp, I guess, at the start of the year. Like, you just got to put a bit more work in to get across everybody and the new players and everything that's going on. So, yeah, it takes probably a couple of weeks to warm into it, but you just got to put work in terms of doing the prep and watching the games from the week before and doing all that sort of stuff to get there, and then you get back into the rhythm of the season and go from there. But I've done the AFLW for a few years now, so a lot of it sort of carries over from season to season.
Yeah. I've said this before, but my style is less about preparation like you. My preparation is watching. So I've watched a lot of AFLW this year, just knew that I was going to be calling some games. So I've just actively watched it, and I listen and I watch, and I watch it not, I've got it on in the background. Like, I watch it and listen and see who the good players are and watch what the quality's like, all that sort of stuff. See if I can pick up trends. And I do that with the men's too. That's how I prepare for the men's. I watch 6 or 7 games a weekend. I just watch and listen properly. And it's good to be able to tell anyone else who's trying to distract me I'm working, so I just watch the footy. And so the AFLW is no different for me. And I listen really carefully to how you call a game. So if you stuff up, I'm going to stuff up. But you just... Yeah, for me, I'm just calling what I see. And I think it's actually helped me. I know there's been some criticism of people's thoughts around the AFLW. I've always, from the get-go, been a really strong supporter of what's going on and seen the development because I'm actually working in it. And because I just look at it as footy, I don't really look at it as women's footy, to be honest. It's just footy.
Yeah.
It's just like if I was calling the waffle or I was calling an amateur game or I was calling PSA. It's just footy. I'm just watching the ball go and then contests, and it's all the same stuff happening.
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy answer, to be honest.
Yeah, and you get some good games and you get some bad games, and that's exactly what happens in the men's as well. And we went from doing, obviously, at Optus Stadium on Saturday with 60,000 people then to doing Lathlane on Sunday with 2,000 people there. I had a ball. I had such a good time calling that game as well. Like, it was good, fun game of footy. There were some great goals. There were some good passages of play and some nice moments, and everyone that was there was super invested in it.
If you haven't watch the game this year, go and do yourself a favour. Like, I think this is by far the greatest leap in quality I've seen in the last 6 or 7 years. Every year it's got better.
Yeah.
But this year, the quality is like, I'm talking 20, 30, 40% better. Game plan, execution, scoring, it's way better. And so if you have been a person that's criticised the quality or the scoring or whatever it is, I would encourage you to go and watch a game properly. I really think the quality's a huge step up this year.
and get to know the players, and then you get more invested in it
Yep.
because you know the storylines of everyone out there and how well they're going. Lots of messages coming through on the email. Brad Gale says, Q&A, looking long-term, wouldn't a better situation for the AFLW to be aligned and play a full season with the men's team? Use support staff, they travel together, etc. So literally to line up the men's and the women's to play double headers each and every week.
Yes. I mean, I just did an interview with Glenn Jakovic, who said the grand final, it used to be the under-18s and then the reserves and then the AFL. Like, we could definitely see that come back in. It could be the women's, the reserves, national reserve side, and then the AFL. I would like that. The AFL wants to own as much of the year as possible, so they would be against it because that means they would probably only own, 30 weeks of the year. So that's probably why they do it. I'd really like to see it. Yeah, I think you'd get bigger crowds. The club resources could be better supported, and I think we'll probably get there. I think early days there was difficulties around facilities, sharing facility because it hadn't happened before. Even as simple as like girls and guys sharing change rooms, like you can't really have that. You need separate facilities. Most clubs now have adapted, have built, have upgraded, whatever it is, to the point where I reckon every side around the competition is well set up for it. It wasn't ready 10 years ago, but it pretty much is now.
Yeah, there was talk about having some double headers this year. I think I'd like to see a few of them, but probably not all. I still think the AFLW needs those standalone games at some of those other venues on the way through and to overlap the season and be able to get its exposure as its own product. But I think certainly through the end of the home and away, if you're going to extend out the women's season, play a few of those as double headers before it sort of branches off by itself. The second part of Brad's message was around that reserves comp. Like, do you see that happening, not having a waffle team like West Coast do, but having a national reserves comp, and then any of the extra players get pulled up from the waffle to help fill out those squads?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see it. I guess, there'd just be consequences to the state league competitions, but I think it could be positive consequences for the state league competitions. It would really differentiate state league footy and then AFL reserves footy, and there'd be different fan bases and the loyalists and the people, getting exposure to really family-friendly experiences like the waffle is. I think it'd be a good thing, and I don't think we're far from it, and it could be something we looked at. I put it to Andrew Dillon when I interviewed him over here at a private function, and it wasn't a no. So I think they're looking at it. There'd be some logistical changes, but I think that they've proven that they can travel big squads of people around. They can you can stay places and play there as well. So I don't think we're far from it. They're email questions, by the way, Paps, and if you do want to send us an email, hello@backchatpodcast.com.au. That'll get us to the top of the list if you want to email something in.
Red Dwarf 63 says, the Eagles midfield, would they be better to use a late pick and get the current Samford Magarey medalist Tom Lewis, who plays for Sturdy's mid-20s and would be able to help out in their midfield with an experienced player, says Red Dwarf. I haven't seen a lot of Tom Lewis play, but he dominated this year. I think there's, and you've said it before, Sky, like there's so many players running around in those second-tier competitions that could absolutely play AFL.
So many. It's ridiculous.
They just need an opportunity.
Spoke to Lee Spur, who's cut his teeth not at Sturt. What's the South Australian club Lee Spur played for? Central Districts.
Yep.
He came from this culture, this footy club culture of success, and they won something like 9 flags in 10 years or something. Central Districts. There's players around the country right now that haven't had a game of AFL, that haven't been in a system or a club, that could come in as a 23 to 27-year-old and make an immediate impact. I actually am surprised it doesn't happen more often. From the draft as well, not the mid-season, but even the mid-season. Go and get the very best player in the state league. I can guarantee you that the best player, so if it's Tom Lewis, he would be better than half the West Coast Eagles boys, unfortunately. Now, that they would make the argument, well, we don't want a mature age. We're only going to get 5 years of footy out of him. So what? Get competitive. That'll develop your players on your list even better. Yeah, I don't like that they don't do it more often, to be honest. Sean Manor, yeah, you've seen what he's done.
Best young player in the game at 28. Mick Booth says player contracts are too long. We were talking about this last week. He says Collingwood have been topping up Adam Treloar for 5 years. There should be a limit on it because teams are getting themselves into trouble by signing players up for too long, says Mick.
Well, they should protect themselves. Like the clubs are the ones doing it, Mick. So I agree with you, mate. But
There's a bit of an arms race going on in the league now, though. Like if one player gets a 6-year contract, the next one says, "Well, I want 6 years." Then the next one goes, "Well, I want 7 years." And now we're getting 9, 10-year deals.
This is the trouble with. I think that's becoming close to a bit of a monopoly with player managers around the country. There's not that many of them, and they all know what everyone's on. And you don't have a lot of independent operators. And it's getting to a bit of exactly what you're talking about. Well, I've just done this deal for Nazai Wanganeen Miller, and I know the exact contract terms and details. Like, why aren't we doing that for Harley? And they all talk to each other. I'd love to see more player managers and more, individual negotiations going on rather than just, well, he's on this at this club, and then I want this for my player.
Justin says we should go on strike until Eliza replaces Paps.
Well, Eliza's, unfortunately, I would have agreed before we recorded Tuesday's show, but a no-show from Eliza. Again, very busy, very good operator. Just a bit of a red mark against her name now, unfortunately.
J.O. Rob's trying to get in our good books. Says the buy before finals is perfectly fine. You never prevent everything from happening. By the way, Adam, I hope you call a granny on TV one day. And Scully, you should have got the Norm Smith in 2018 for your handful of game-saving contests.
So it's buttering us up, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I love your work.
I'll cop it.
I'll take it. Brad also says Dom Cassisi is the new mafia boss of Adelaide. And Derek says, and this is after last week when we got to Dom and he's on the phone, he's making deals while he's getting ready to chat to us. Says Dom Cassisi was looking like the Godfather. What is going on? The Dom.
We need to forward this to him. Yeah. That's brilliant.
I like it. We were talking about buys last week about pre-finals or pre-grand final, and this one says, Sco, do you think having to wait 2 weeks after a prelim to play in a grand final would be too mentally draining for players? Wouldn't you rather just get to game day as soon as possible?
I guess it depends a little bit. Depends if you're in, if you're running hot a bit. I don't think so, because the first week could be used as a bit more recovery. You're putting that much work into the grand final anyway. Probably not. It would just become more spaced out, and I think it would be a good thing. So a short answer is no.
You asked what Campbell Chess would be worth earlier on.
Yeah.
This one says, Campbell Chesser for Patrick Cripps, done deal. Not sure that's going to happen.
Okay, get it done.
Nice work, Brad. Ed said, Freo's forward line is underproductive. Postseason trades of forwards needed. Delist or trade Amos, Frederick, and offer money to which forward to come west? Question mark.
Yeah, at times they were ineffective. It's a good point, Ed. I wouldn't be trading Jai Amos because he's had a bit of a up and down year.
Still very young for a key forward.
If you had the same conversations around Josh Tracy when he was young, then you wouldn't have Josh Tracy because he wasn't very good in the first couple of years. And you remember the chat? There was always about, geez, he's frustrating. He gets his hands on a lot. He can't clunk them. Now look at him. I'm very bullish on Jai Amos. I think he's got every skill to be a really good AFL player. He's clearly done that. He's just had a really challenging year because clubs and specifically backlines and specifically good, strong one-on-one contested backmen have figured him out. That if you tie him up and you wrestle him, he doesn't have the skill set right now to separate. He needs to be a really good forward. He needs to find a way to separate from his opponent. I've heard Pav talk about this a lot with him. He doesn't get the separation required. So you get a Sam Collins on him like in the final, who's one of the best lockdown defenders in the comp, who uses his body and his physicality and it's real craft as a backman. You get that and he's literally he can't even compete. And that's just because he's young. He'll figure it out. I think that's all he should be working on in the off-season. I don't need him fitter, stronger, better mark, better kick. I need him better with his craft as a forward to create separation on an opponent. I'd be happy with him 3 times a week, doing an hour one-on-one with Alex Pearce, and just we used to have these things at West Coast, and you'd tie them around each other's waist. They were elastic bands, and they were Velcroed on. They were double Velcroed. I used to do this with Josh Kennedy, and it's the worst ever. And so the forward's job is to break it, and the backman's job is to keep it tight. And so you'd do it around poles, you'd do in and outs, and you'd basically have to do it within a space. And as the backman, you sort of try to keep your hips close to his, and it looks very funny doing it. But it was the best drill ever, like best ever. tie one of them around him for the entire off season. It doesn't matter who he's near, his partner or his family, and just say you got to break the rope all the time. Yeah, you got to get away. No, he's got to create separation. So definitely wouldn't be trading him. Definitely not. It's an absolute no for me.
Michael Frederick gets a fair bit of criticism, and I spent an hour and a half sticking up for him on Saturday morning before the final because there was a few radio callers coming and say he needs to be dropped and all that sort of thing. I was like, well, you look at his numbers, he's had a career best year and he's kicked more goals, and then he didn't have a great game on Saturday night. But I think he plays a very valuable role in Freo's forward line, and he's not going to cash in every single game. Yeah. But I think his upside is still there. People come for him a lot, but I think he's an important part of Freo.
So do I.
Because he adds a different dynamic to what everyone else does.
Wouldn't be trading a lot out. Neil Erasmus, of course, committed to the club earlier this week with big interest from the Western Bulldogs, but he is staying at Freo, which is a good thing.
Dan on the SMS says...
From the SMS?
The SMS, I'm back on radio. Dan on the message line on YouTube says, Scully was 100% wrong about the Eagles' best and fairest. Footy is based on tribalism and rivalry. If the shoe was on the other foot, I'd fully expect Freo fans to be barracking for our opposition. The whole supporting WA is putrid. If you're in that basket, you aren't a real supporter at all.
So, Dan, I've heard this a lot. Just imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and you saw the Freo Dockers after a one-win season at their best and fairest cheering the West Coast Eagles losing in a final. I guarantee you West Coast fans would be looking at that and saying, that is embarrassing. You know, Dan, that if the shoe was on the other foot, you'd be saying exactly what I said looking at it. And I say it as an impartial observer. I'm not a real fan. You're right, Dan, you are. I would put so much money on the fact that the West Coast Eagles fan base would look at the Freo Dockers at their best and fairest and be sledging them about no premierships and sure, that's tribalism. That's good. But you can't tell me that if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be different. It'd be exactly the same. And I'll be right both times, perhaps.
Cody says, do you realise it was Sandy Brock and former players of Dimmer that were cheering, right?
Well, Cody, you weren't there, and I've spoken to lots of people that were, and yes, it was those, and there was also other people, including board members. So shove that up, Cody. Oh, you think I'm gonna crawl into a ball? I'm sick of this. Yeah, come on. Keep going.
No, that's it.
Come on,
Roberto.
That's it. It's a bit weak.
Yeah, well, there's a few more. I didn't put them on the list, I don't think, because we've addressed it already. Okay.
I've now turned the corner. Now I'm on the way back up.
If West Coast had a good year and had won lots of games and were then cheering Freo getting knocked out, is that a different scenario to what you're talking about?
1,000%.
Yeah. So and I agree with you.
My issue is with the shitness of the football club. You've won 7 games in 4 years. Like, it's just, honestly, it's to the point where you're irrelevant and it's embarrassing. That's my thoughts. Not that you have to love Freo. I don't think West Coast fans should love Freo. Great points, Paps. If they had imagine if West Coast were in the finals as well.
Yeah.
Finals had lost. Yeah, great. It's just a bit of like, well, okay.
Your point being that they've been poor, so focus on your own backyard first.
They can do it. Well, my secondary point is you can do whatever you like. Don't listen to me.
Roberto says, I'd be interested to know Will Schofield's view on what 3 key changes he'd make on or off field to improve the Eagles' performances in 2026. He's been a pretty good analyst, even if he's been coming off a little snarky this year.
I think I did this already. I've done it somewhere. It was clipped up.
Somewhere else.
But 3 key changes to improve the Eagles' performance. So it's a little bit different. I think it was like top 5, making West Coast a better club.
Yep.
Improve performance. A question without notice here, so just give me a second while I pad in my brain.
Fitness base? Skill base?
Oh, honestly, like I would improve, and like fundamental skills is the number one thing that I watch, and I think that's not good enough. Missing handballs, wide open players, not being able to make simple kicks. There's not enough one-touch players all the time. Losing your feet, like real fundamentals of skill-based football. So they need to get way better in that. How I would do it, it's a little bit of both. They add new coaches, which they're doing, and it's got to be player-driven. You should be walking around with a footy, like you're in New York at Times Square because you want a break. Take a footy with you. That's how you get better. It's just, there's no real secret to how getting better at fundamental footy. Honestly, the fitness side of things, you've heard me say this a lot. I don't really think they're an unfit side.
They haven't been able to play 4 quarters though.
it's not fitness that's causing that. It's the decision making and the mental ability to stay in games, which, sure, a little bit of fitness, but that comes with experience and it comes with fortitude, mental fortitude. And a third thing, it's got to be the actual players. They've got to get the list better. Like they have to nail 1 and 2. More first rounders, sure. They need to probably add a couple of Bakers and Grahams, players from other clubs that know how to do it, because they don't have enough of the players that know how to do it. What I was saying about the breaks from the club. If you're a young group like West Coast is, if you're Harley Reid and you're Rep Bazzo and you're Clay Hall and all these guys, like, they don't really know how to train in an off season because they've never seen it. So you need to get more and more people that do and put them around the players.
Last 3, Ian says, thoughts on the Freo captaincy next year?
I hate co-captains. So either keep Alex Pearce or make Sarong or Brayshaw a solo captain, but don't do co. Don't bring one of them up to be alongside Alex Pearce.
Why are they talking about changing?
I
thought he's done a very good job.
Oh, just keep Alex Pearce.
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer. Yeah, keep Alex Pearce.
Yeah. Peter Parker says, thoughts on Nathan O'Driscoll's spot in the side?
It just feels like he was coming off the long run this year, and it just put him behind. So he was fighting fitness and health, and then it turns into form. I think he can be a really bloody good player for Freo. He just didn't probably put that on the park this year because he was inconsistent with his body. So for Freo, they've got a number of players. If you think about Freo being good next year, Hayden Young has to play 25 games. Can't miss a game because of injury. He gets reported, so be it. I don't care what you have to do. If Hayden Young misses half a year, you can't win a flag almost. That's how important he is. Nathan O'Driscoll needs to play all game. Anyone who's, they just need to get blokes on the park, and really important ones like Hayden Young, definitely.
And last one from Jake is directed at me. Says, Paps, did you get a Lord of the Rings mention into the broadcast on Saturday?
Did you?
I may have.
Did you?
I may have.
What are you doing in there? What are you not even saying what it is?
Just my nerdy brain getting it in.
All right.
You can go back and check it out first.
Any clues?
First goal to...
My pressure.
No, not quite. You need to know the storyline a bit more to actually get it. I reckon.
I know it enough.
Got to be a thing, but yeah.
Hammer would be right with you.
All right, we'll see if Hammer can pick it up. But yeah, first goal of Patrick Voss. First free.
I didn't want a clue where it was. I wanted a clue what it was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, first goal. Go back and check it out.
Okay.
If you want to. But that's just, I like to just put in random niche references into games and see who will pick it up on it. I got a few texts from a few people, so that made my night.
You would have enjoyed working with Dwayne Russell.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, really good. Really
I've enjoyed working with him sort of from afar. I've never sort of seen him in Perth, but you two together, how'd that go? Good
fun. Yeah, really good. Dwayne's always been really generous with working with me. Very first game I ever did for Fox Footy was with Dwayne, and he was showing me the ropes as to how it worked.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was random because it was a game that was in WA, a pre-season game, but they were giving me a trial. But because they had to do it remote because it was a pre-season game, I had to fly to Melbourne to call the game, which was in Joondalup. So it actually took me longer to drive to the airport than it would have to drive to the ground. But Dwayne was so generous and has been the whole way through in terms of just trying to push me up and get me. He was trying to get me to take the first bounce on Saturday night. I was like, mate, come on, you are the senior caller here. You will take the first bounce because that is what you should be doing. You're working. You do more games than me. You've been working a lot more than me. But that's just an insight into him being, a generous character and really generous when you're calling together. So
that's cool.
It was great fun.
Yeah, I like listening to him. The Geelong connection's good too.
Yeah, no, he's a good fella and really good at what he does. So it was good fun.
Well done. Did you miss me?
Did.
Yeah, definitely.
So we worked together on Sunday, so it was fine.
Yeah,
and I'll leave you alone for 2 seconds and look what happens.
I think it was the moment you walked in. You walked in late. You were like, "Oh, Scott, you haven't potted West Coast enough. Can you give us some of the socials on 6PR?"
I was standing behind you when you went. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting."
I remember you saying like that because people always ask, "Oh, do you get told what to say?"
Oh, really?
People put not. I mean, I hear a lot. Oh, does Fox Footy dictate what you can and can't talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'd love to tell everyone, like Adam Papalia tells me what to say. So anything that you disagree with comes from Paps. Definite. Hey, you're my boss, and I don't get to speak unless you say. It's like this show here. You basically just gave me a big long list of things, and like you can say this about West Coast. You know we hate West Coast, so we talk about that. And then,
we were talking to David Zeta before about swearing, and that is total bullshit from Will Schofield.
Yes.
This has been the Footy Interchange Exchange. We'll catch you next week.